Hello, beautiful people. So, how's everyone doing? So, today it's Friday the 14th, and we are heading towards the eclipse. There'll be nothing major happening astrologically between now and the eclipse, which is for some of us just before midnight on the 19th, and majority of us it will be on the 20th of April. But that's for another video. I actually decided to make a pre-eclipse video about something else because there's a lot of things in the air right now. And today we are experiencing Venus in a square with Saturn. Venus is in Gemini, Saturn is in Pisces, and at the same time Saturn is making a positive aspect, supportive aspect, which we call sextile to the North Node, which is our evolutionary intention. And this has been showing up pretty strongly this week with all the news that's been going on in mainstream media, as I'm sure probably majority of human beings on this planet are aware of, and majority of people that have social media commented on these topics. So I don't need to go deeper into the details, but what I really wanted to bring our attention towards is how what is happening below is, as always, perfectly mirrored by what's happening above. And this square that's happening today and the sextile to North Node are actually perfectly supporting this occurrence in our three-dimensional reality called life on a planet Earth. So what I really wanted to invite people to perhaps consider is how there are so many information, so much information, so many news coming at us externally, and they of course create an emotional response because straight away our brain, our mind identifies similar experiences or information that came from the past that created a similar emotional response. So it's like a copy paste of the past experience, right? And as I actually commented on some of these videos myself, majority of our responses is being not manipulated. Well, majority of the news that's been put out there is actually seeking certain response, and people are quite predictable with their responses. So that's why actually I choose personally not to follow news or mainstream media, because I choose to observe and not to react by the way some external forces are expecting or predicting us people, being emotional beings, to react and respond. And this is actually a very good, even though unfortunate, but very good learning opportunity for all of us, because as I quite often talk about in my videos, there is not a single version of truth. So everything is truth and lie at the same time. We have some universal truth, like the law of attraction, law of conservation, cause and effect, gravity and stuff like that. So there are these few things that are like pretty much solid, right? But majority of what we perceive as truth is just the subjective perception of reality, which is heavily influenced by the person that is perceiving. So our experience, our cultural upbringing, our conditioning, like there are so many things that influence what we perceive as truth, and also what is in resonance with us. And that's why if we try to distinguish truth based just on our mind, then we can get lost, because the mind operates on facts which are derived from the past experience and past programming, right? And this is why our reactions are predictable, and this is what is being most of the time used against us to create certain response that then leads to certain manifestation, because our thoughts and our emotions manifest, and the more emotion we put into the thought, whatever we're thinking about, the more we're feeling into that thought, the more likely we are to manifest that as a reality. So what I feel myself intuitively, especially considering the current transits, and as I've spoken about in my previous videos about Mercury spending unusual amount of time in a sign of Taurus, which I discuss deeper in my video when I'm talking about this transit. And I believe this is because Mercury is trying to help us to understand that the true answers truly lies only within, and we can access them by tuning into our bodies and connecting with our heart. And actually, Sun, once it moves into the sign of Taurus, it will be even more significant. It will be even more multiplied, because Sun represents our vital force. It's the representation of Leo, which is the heart. But without trying to get too lost into all of this, what I'm trying to explain is that nobody external of yourself can give you the answer. Nobody can tell you what is the truth for you, because each and every single one of us have our own perception of this life, of our experience. Like, you can have two people going through exactly the same experience, like, I don't know, in a theme park or something, right? And you speak to these two people and they will give you a completely different story, because what if this one person is scared of height or has a trauma in regards to, I don't know, like a fast moving vehicles and stuff, and it causes them nausea and sickness, right? So this person would say that was the worst experience of my life, and someone else would say, oh my God, it was amazing, I had such a great time. And both people are right. Both have their own truth, and neither of them is lying, right? So that's why how we describe something as truth or lie is very subjective. And as I said, it's influenced by our past experiences. And that's why when something happens externally, we always measure it and compare it to our experiences and our belief system and all this. So practically, to really figure out what is truth for you can be done only by tuning within and listen to your heart. Really, like, don't just listen to your brain, because the brain is predominantly operated by our ego identity, the labeling. And this is what the Mars in Cancer is working on, of course. And because Cancer is ruled by the moon, the things are changing all the time, because moon is very cyclical. It changes signs every 2 days. So that's why it's very important, especially through these transformative times that we are all facing as a human collective consciousness and human collective, as human beings. It is very important to discern and to go within, and to actually, rather than just react to whatever information gets thrown at us. And this will become more and more frequent, and there will be more and more. And it's not stoppable, because this is how media manipulates and creates their power and their influence and stuff. So there'll be always some information being thrown at us. And now, what is the truth and what is the lie? Everything is truth and everything is lie at the same time, because it depends who is receiving the information, right? And how that resonates with you and your life experience, right? So to truly discern what it is for you personally is to go within, rather than just reacting straight away, which is easily said than done. To observe and take the information within and see what response it creates within you, and also question why this response is coming up. Because is it because of some memory that is bringing up, like it's a trigger to some memory that is from the long before, that hasn't been healed and integrated, or is it because I feel that this resonates with me? This is the feeling I'm getting straight away. And that's then it helps us to not jump into conclusion and then judge situation or other people just based on this information that's coming from external, which might not even be truth, or it might not even be truth for you, because once the dust settles and we have time to think about it and actually feel into it, and perhaps even make a research or accumulate facts, then we might realize that, actually, I overreacted or something like that, which is very natural, and it's a human nature to do that. But I feel, because of this Mercury having this long transit through the sign of Taurus, and Taurus is very introspective, it's a yin, it's a receptive energy, so it's inviting us to receive and ground it in your body, like feel into it. How does this feel to you, and what feelings and what response your body like has towards this external stimuli, whether it's an information or a person or whatever it is. And that then helps us to learn more about ourselves and to identify who we really are, what is important to me, and how do I create my truth based on what I hear or what I experience, because that truth, that belief system that we have, then influences how we're going to respond as the time goes on. And these things are constantly changing, because some people might be aware, Gemini, which is the gatherer of the information, communicator, and then Jupiter, which is our belief system. It's like this perception of reality through which we see the world. These are what we call mutable signs. So they're constantly in the state of flow. It's like when the seasons are changing, when you hear from Pisces season is when the season are going from winter to spring. So it's not winter anymore, but it's not quite yet spring. And then we have Gemini from spring to summer. Of course, Virgo is from summer to fall or autumn, and Sagittarius from fall to winter. So these signs are not to be rigid. They are very flexible in a sense of flow, and that's why, based on the information that we are accumulating by identifying our external environment, our matrix, we then process this information through Virgo. Because Virgo is this organizer, it organizes everything. It's like very, very good admin. And then it's been passed on to Sagittarius, and it goes, okay, based on everything that I received and I organized and tuned into, feel into it, because Virgo is an earth sign. Now I create an ideology and perception of reality and truth, through which then all the next information that's coming into my field will be measured. It will be measured based on this truth that I have, right? And that's why also, as some of the teachers I follow have mentioned in their work, that this is different for everyone. And it's important to understand that just because I have a certain truth and perception of reality, and that's why I always try to disclaim in my videos that this is just my perception of reality. I'm in no way saying even my astrological interpretation are my perception of reality. This is not the universal truth. And it's important to acknowledge and to understand that this is different for everyone, because every person perceives their reality from their own place, from their being, right? As like going to this theme park, two different people having a completely different experience, because I am the person perceiving this reality. So this is pretty much what's happening in the world right now, but because a lot of us are not attuned to that. We are not attuned to our bodies and to our values and to what is actually my truth. We are being a social creatures. We are living in a social environment, and we are dependent on this environment. There's no such a thing as independent person, because we all depend on each other. We are social creatures, and we need one another to survive for different things. I mean, yes, there are like these solitary monks living on the top of the mountain, but how many of them are, right? 99 point whatever percent of population actually lives in communities or tribes or cities or something, because we need one another to survive, like for food, for clothes, or for services, or whatever it is, right? So where I was getting with this. So for majority of people, it's important to have this connection, to belong, to be accepted, to feel that I'm not alone, right? And this is something that is embedded in us since childhood, because in order for the child to survive, it needs to connect, it needs to create connection. And this is work of Gabor Mate, where he talks about that, the child will a lot of times suppress its authenticity for the connection, because its survival depends on it. And this is something that is very deeply embedded in every single one of us. And that's why when there is an information out there, we kind of try to connect, like, okay, so majority of people, what is their opinion? So I need to, belong to that group because I need to survive, because if I go against the grain, then I'll be cast out and I will die, right? Because this is how it used to be in an long time ago, when we lived in a tribal communities, and then when people get choked out, then they were on their own, like afraid of the elements and stuff, because now how are we going to survive? So this is something that is very deeply embedded in our psyche, and that's why we are, as human beings, very easily manipulated and very predictable with our responses or reactions, more like to certain stimuli, to certain information, which is why this information is being put out there. And that's why many times when an information reaches me, even though I don't watch news and follow media and stuff, I always try to question it. But this is just me. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but this is how I operate. This is my blueprint. I always question everything, because I always question, why is this information coming to me? Why is this information released to the ether? And what is the possible agenda behind it? Like, why would somebody put out this information, and why now, And going back to what I started with, the current transits, we have Venus in Gemini. As I mentioned in my Venus in Gemini video, Venus is very chatty, she's very flirty, she's open to duality, because Gemini is more than one. In Gemini you have the two twins, so there is always more than one opinion. And living in this three-dimensional reality called Matrix, called Earth, life on the planet Earth, that's what we are being presented with on daily basis. There is always polarity, there is always good and bad, there is light and dark, there is whatever it is, hot and cold, right? So we have all these polarities. And now Venus is our essential values, it's our relationship, how we relate, and she's in Gemini, so she's accumulating information which is presenting us all these options, like it's okay, this is an option and this is an option, and now which one you're going to choose it depends on you. It depends on what are your values, what is your belief system, and that all gets measured through that, and then you choose what you believe is your truth, right? But that doesn't mean it's the truth for someone else, or it's the truth that is actually the truth. It's just your perception of reality, right? And this Venus is making square to Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces. So Saturn is dissolving the old structure. Is actually, Venus is bringing information to Saturn saying like, hey, this is what I accumulated. I discovered that this, and this, and this is out there presented as the truth. What do you think, right? And there is a tension. Square is always a tension that requires a resolution, right? It requires an adjustment. And Saturn is Pisces. Pisces is all about wholeness. It's about unifying everything that came before. It's the end of the cycle. And it's about deeper meaning. It's looking for a deeper meaning to transcend this reality and connect us back to the source. So now Saturn, which is the old structure, is going through Pisces. So that which was our past is now being dissolved or being presented for the end of the cycle. And now Venus is presenting you with the information saying, what do you think? Is this the truth? Is this something that is part of the old or the new? And are we bringing this with us into the life of a deeper meaning or not? And this is why these informations that are currently presented to us, and as I said, there'll be more and more of this, because this is what is now being offered for re-evaluation. Saturn, which is our structure, our definition of reality, our systems, is bringing everything under the microscope, under this Pisces. Pisces is the 12th sign of the zodiac, so it within itself has everything that came before it, all the 11 signs. So now Saturn is bringing all this definition of all structure to Pisces, and is saying, okay, now which one of these still holds a meaning? So now with Venus squaring, creating this challenging aspect to Saturn, she's bringing an information which is now being questioned. Like, is this part of the structure and the old system that needs to be dissolved, that is still serving us or not? And that's why there are all these things being laundered in the public, literally, But at the same time, Saturn is today making a supportive aspect called sextile, which always requires us to take an action. It doesn't just bring outcome without us doing anything, right? So it's making these positive aspects to North Node in Taurus. North Node is the evolutionary potential of us as a human collective. And being in a Taurus is again connected to our needs, values, how we relate to ourselves, how we see ourselves worthy or not. Because when I judge someone else based on whatever they do, whatever they say, whatever they represent, however they look, I'm judging that aspect that is within me that I rejected, that I find unacceptable. I judge you because you are like that, because this is what I feel that is horrible and I should not be like that. But within each of us, all these aspects exist, like everything, all this multidimensional representation of our world exists in every single one of us. So it's like, that old story about the two wolves, which one wins is the one you feed. So now every single one of us as human being has a positive traits and a negative traits, or that as we describe it in this world of polarity, that is good or bad, right? And then if we decide something is bad, something is negative, and we see that mirrored to us by another person, so that person represents that trait, we judge them, we straight away reject them, because it's something that I don't accept as as a good thing. I don't accept it in myself. So that's why this positive aspect that is happening today is actually inviting us to again, through this Saturn process, Saturn in Pisces, where all these old aspects of reality are, being laundered and presented for, is this being dissolved or is it being taken into the new cycle because it still holds a meaning? We are invited to actually go within. Again, Mercury, that's why Mercury is in Taurus, and it will have a retrograde there as of next week. It's in Taurus for 2 months, because Mercury is our inner dialogue, is our labeling, communication, and identifying. And it's at this present moment is inviting us, go within, ask yourself, ask your body, ask your heart, connect with your senses. How does this feel to you? Not just what you hear, not just what you observe, because sometimes our senses, they could be our greatest enemy as well, because we hear, we see, so, and, things can get manipulated. They can be taken out of context and we respond, we react straight away, right? So, in one sense, connect with your senses, but don't be ruled by your senses, discern, measure it, measure it in accordance with your intuition, with your heart, is everything in alignment or not? So this Saturn making a positive aspect to this North Node, that's to me how I am interpreting this, that Venus is giving Saturn an information, and Saturn is also offering this information to North Node, because everything is connected, everything is communicating together. And this North Node is then saying, is this part of our evolutionary trajectory as a human collective? Is this something that you still value and find meaningful and want to bring with you into the future? And how this reflects who you are and what you believe. So that's why, to bring this old long video that was meant to be short into the close, I feel that everything that's going on in the world, it's happening for us. It's not happening to us, even though I know that this could trigger a lot of people and potentially probably will, but it's an opportunity for learning. It's an opportunity for self-discovery, because that is happening and being reflected to me, because it's, coming into my orbit of how I perceive this world. What is this teaching me about me? Because this is all about you. This reality, it's all about every single one of us, because you are the one that is perceiving it. And this is each and every single one of us. You can speak to everyone. That's why people always want to know about themselves. That's why they want to go to astrologers or psychics or whatever, because they want to learn about themselves. They want to understand themselves. And this is a perfect opportunity. Every time there is a trigger, every time there is something coming from external, that is, getting your hackles up, right? it's an opportunity to learn about me. It's an opportunity to learn, why am I responding this way? What is this triggering? What belief system is coming up, that is making me respond this way, and stuff like that. And then understanding that every single one of us is going through the same process. So every single one of us has its own basket of values, needs, perception of reality, truth, and stuff like that. And nobody's right or wrong, because we all have a reason to believe what we believe and value what we value, right? But it's important to understand that, is this actually your value and your belief system, or is it something you adopted from someone else because you needed to fit in, So anyway, guys, this could go on forever. This is such a topic for a long conversation, and it was not even meant to take this long to talk about this. But I just felt it was important, because now we're heading into this solar eclipse next week, which I'm going to make a video about this weekend. And it's just another layer. It's just another layer onto this path, this journey that we are traveling on. Every single one of us, we are part of this journey, in this life, which takes 5 minutes. It's a very, very short thing. And we have an opportunity to observe and learn. And, and this is one of them. So, it's an opportunity to perhaps make a different choice under the same circumstances, right? Because there is nothing new under the sun. Information like this always was and always will be. So how do we choose to respond to it this time? And do we choose to learn something new from it, take something, something new that we didn't know before? Or we just respond the same way, and when something like this happens, we again will respond the same way and not learn anything new, right? Which is why these occurrences will keep happening, because if there is the same reaction, then nothing new has been learned. The source didn't expand, right? So anyway, I really leave it at that, guys. I don't know if this was helpful to anyone. I just felt calling to make this video, to talk about this. And yeah, I'll see you soon in the solar eclipse video. Probably will be released next, in the next few days. Okay, sending everybody much love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.